Here is a 2024 Honda Accord Hybrid Sport L in urban gray pearl over black leather. What's the difference between the trims and the turbocharged opposed to the hybrid with some pros and cons? I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides, and the Sport L Hybrid is not going to implement a 2.0 liter turbocharge that has 252 horsepower. It's not going to be sport underneath the hood. That's one of the major differences that happened with this 11 Gen. LED headlights and daytime runnings, gloss black elements is what is going to make the Sport L Hybrid. Starting on the grille and the lower trim, it's going to wrap around the whole front bumper, the side skirts, side view mirror, and all of the window trim with the shark fin antenna, trunk lid spoiler, and the lower bumper of the rear. Now, it's not just aesthetics, it's a retuned suspension. You get driver modes in which you're gonna have a total of 4, and it's gonna have that dynamic look because of the European Sportback design. Underneath the hood is gonna house a 2.0 liter 4-cylinder hybrid with 204 horsepower and 247 pound-feet of torque paired to an eCVT transmission, which is an electronic controlled variable transmission. Typically, I get in the comments, it's not an eCVT, it's not a CVT transmission. The difference between a regular traditional transmission and what this has is they have gears. This is gear ratio. Yes, it has a direct gear, but otherwise it's all ratio driven. And the Sport L Hybrid gets the best MPGs at 46 for the city and 41 MPGs for the highway. Upgrading your wheels to 19-inch matte black 5-spoke alloy wheels, which makes it a little bit more dynamic looking with that European design mixed in. The only problem that I see with this is it has a lot of similarity to the Volkswagen Passat, which was discontinued last year. But I like that it is wider than the prior gen and longer than the prior gen because it gives more space in the interior and it makes it look a little bit more sporty with a luxury twist, almost like an Acura discounted. Now, this is underneath the touring trim, which would be the top of the line, and you will be losing a lot of amenities that are in the interior. For the exterior, the major difference really is the styling elements that you're receiving with the Sport L Hybrid. And dropping to an EXL, you're going to be getting 17-inch wheels. When you start into the hybrid trim, you get 19-inch wheels, so you will lose quite a bit of that exterior style. It's going to be the same suspension setup, which is a McPherson strut front and a multi-link rear. LED taillights is going to be standard, and because it's the Sport L Hybrid, I would like to see exhaust outlets. And I get it, it's 48 horsepower less than that 2.0 liter 4-cylinder turbocharged and 26 pound-feet of torque less. But we only receive a carryover 1.5 liter turbo with 192 horsepower. Not even a manual transmission this gen. So it would just make this kind of stand out in class because you're getting that luxury and sport design on the exterior. Quick release going into 16.7 cubic feet, which didn't alter for the refresh. Bag holders, it's going to be on both sides. Split fold the rear bench in the back, and if you're wondering what's underneath the floor, nothing. We have some storage and a tire pump. You do not have a tire here. If you're tall, you can push it down, but if you're not, you're going to have to go through the back door. It's not going to fold all the way flat, but it will increase the cargo capacity to the Accord. Let's go inside, start it up, so you can hear that exhaust though. Ten-way power seat adjustment for the driver, 4-way power seat adjustment for the passenger. The EXL Hybrid starts this. Heated front seats, memory for the driver. Headroom and leg room. The footwells are wide and deep. The Civic dash will come into play for the Accord. This is the big brother, is the way I like to call it. Gloss black elements is going to go around that and on the top here with a power on and off and to adjust the audio sound system. 12.3-inch starts on the EXL Hybrid. Otherwise, you're not going to receive this at all. Apple CarPlay is wireless, Android Auto, Sirius XM, Honda Link, but to get navigation, you have to go onto the Touring trim. Put it into reverse and you get a reverse camera. It doesn't cover the full screen. You have different camera layouts and the trajectory will expand out. Dual climate control is standard, 2 USB ports. Wireless charging pad is only on the Touring trim. The key fob for the Accord. Leather around the shifter and the steering wheel, which is only on the Hybrid trim. Multi-function with the paddle shifts, with a digital gauge cluster that can go through an array of information for the driver, and both sides can be reconfigured. And we have different driving modes. So you have individual, which you can customize, sport, normal, and econ. Going back to the gauge cluster, you can change the design layout. So to change that, just click into here, and this is the round, this is the bar. Round minimal, and bar minimal, plus you have minimal by itself. So really you get about 3 driving modes and you could just make it a little bit more minimal. There isn't going to be any pass-through, but there's a lot of real estate for it. Soft to touch materials that opens up into a 12 volt with a pretty deep storage pocket. The door panel and the dash configure into each other. I wish that this gloss black would just carry on and tailor around the door handle because it would make it a little bit more sporty because of the Sport L Hybrid trim. But we do get the gloss black element right here. One touch up and down for the front windows, and it's soft to touch everywhere except for here. A medium-sized storage pocket that has a beverage holder carved out, a moonroof, but no auto-dimming rear view mirror. For the back seats, you're going to sit up higher than the front, but headroom is still good even though the European design. Same thing with the leg space, and this is the position of the seat that I would be sitting in the front. Storage behind the passenger, no USB or air vents in the center, armrest with cup holders. The door panel will be stripped of all of the soft materials. It's all plastic pretty much everywhere, except you get the gloss black strip right here and a smaller storage pocket that you could probably fit a medium-sized flask. Sliding into the center, leg space will be shared, but you see how big your feet space is. Butt and shoulder space is not really compromised. Sitting here though for headroom can be depending on how you sit because of the light and the way the headliner is. 204 horsepower and 247 pound-feet of torque. Because it's a hybrid, most of the time the engine's going to be cut off, so it's going to be even more quiet. The sound deadening was improved also. The seat comfort was improved. The suspension, everything about this car was reworked. When you're considering a refresh from last year, I think Honda did a good job. They do not offer a manual transmission for the 11th gen anymore, which I don't think that's really a con, because I would say it is if it's in the Civic. Now to see some power. I like the exhaust that comes in, even though it's a 4-cylinder hybrid engine. Most people are probably going to say it's not that nice. It's just because it's small, it fits with the exhaust note. I'm not expecting it to sound like a V6 or a V8, and I don't want it to sound like the turbo that we lost with 252 horsepower, because it's just going to remind me that this is a bit slower. And this will not be something that can compete up to a BMW 330i, which that vehicle could. But this will be practical because you're getting great MPGs. The Sport L Hybrid gives you the best MPGs amongst all of the tiers. It's going to take me to some pros and cons, starting with the pros. The Sport L Hybrid is going to be the most unique also because of the exterior highlights, and it's the only one that options these matte black wheels that's 19-inch. Going into the EXL, you're getting 17-inch wheels, which is a huge difference. Interior, you're still going to get the leather seats on the EXL, so it is somewhat of a sweet spot, but for the exterior styling, this takes it. Honda keeps it simple inside, so the technology isn't over the top. It is going to be a bit of a learning curve because it's Google built in, but when you go to the top tier, in which you'll unlock a heads-up display and 12 speakers through Bose with ventilated front seats. So on the con to this, you got to go up the trims in order to get the features. Plus, you're not going to get that wireless charging pad on any trim except for the top of the line tier. And then you're starting to sacrifice on the exterior styling. So each tier is unique to itself. It's going to be somewhat similar to the Civic hatch and sedan where they changed the grille. But here they're not changing the grille, they're just going to change some of the aesthetics to polish it off and make it look more sporty. The big problem that I have is they don't offer a powerful variant for the Sport L Hybrid, because you're not getting all the amenities. You are losing a significant amount of features when you would go up to the touring trim opposed to this, and yet you're still getting the same powertrain, same suspension, same wheel size. It's just a few touch-up of aesthetics, which you can do chrome deletes if that's something that is going to irritate you. Brakes increased in the size last year. We have regenerative braking. In turn radius, about the same as last year. I'm gonna let it rock and roll. And for the B-roll, or to use the paddle shifters. I'm using it fully, and it's more or less coming to a complete stop. I would say the happy medium is going to be right about 2. You have about 6 or 7 settings altogether. To turn it completely off would be not necessarily beneficial in your day in and day out use. So either midpoint or 2 level for the paddle shifts to engage the regenerative braking. Another pro is you're getting some Acura touches with the gauge cluster that you can see the car, you can see the brake lights in your turn signals, and they do that design in the infotainment screen when you're changing the driving modes, which now you have an individual mode, which gives you 4 total driving modes, so you can make this a little bit more sporty or a little bit more calm. The sound deadening is better, the suspension is better, the seat is a lot better. The prior gen, it will hurt your butt a little bit more so on that long journey. Here, they've made it wider, so it's a little bit better for the lower back and for your butt area. And you get power seat adjustments when you're going into the EXL on the passenger side, so something to take in consideration if you're not wanting to option the Sport L Hybrid. Here we go. Now that was in Econ, and you did not hear the engine at all. Put it into sport mode, and that's what I mean. It gives you that fun exhaust that filters in through when you put it into sport mode. Plus you get the design that goes, or the graphics on the infotainment screen also to illustrate you're getting ready to rock and roll. Going against some of the variants in its comparison, Toyota Camry Hybrid, it's going to be better with the MPGs. This still doesn't outclass it. That's also going to be a little bit faster than this, but you're going to have a little bit more open space in the front because it's more of a driver focus in the Camry, in which they're also doing a refresh for 2025. Going against Kia, the K5, if you get the GT, it's going to blow this thing out of the water. But if you go down the tier, it's going to be a little bit more of a calm drive. You're going to get more cargo capacity in this. And going up the tiers, you get a little bit better bang for your buck plus better MPGs. So looking at any rival in the hybrid category, the only thing that's a big problem that I find is that this did not beat the Toyota, and the Toyota is getting ready to do a refresh in which they may even get better MPGs than they have now. but let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Check out the next video, merchandise, website, and Instagram. Leave a comment and a like. And I'd like to thank Ocean Honda for giving us this 2024 Honda Accord Hybrid Sport L for our car review.